Kal Kadosh, Boker Tov. We're continuing with halachot of Mishloah Manot. This is in Ilchot Purim, Siman Tafresh Tzadik He, Siv Daled. We mentioned yesterday that a person is obligated to send to his friend Shete Manot Basar or Shel Mine Ma'achalim. We're talking about different types, two different types, whether it's going to be of foods. As it says in the Pasuk, Mishloah Manot, Ish L'Re'ehu. The Mishnah Berurah here in Siv Katan Yudchet brings down a Tshuvat Binyan Tzion that he has a doubt. What happens if you come and you send it, but you didn't send it through a shaliach? Are you yotzei chovah or not? Because since it says umishloach manot, so it's mashma that it's being done through a messenger, right? Like a sholeach, right? Ma'im pnei chutzot, which means that you're coming and you're sending through a messenger. So therefore, when you're going to come and you're going to do mishloach manot not through a messenger, are you going to be yotzei chovah? Even though the Mishnah Berurah brings down this doubt, and therefore because of that, we should try to do both. What is both? Right? Which means that you should try to send one Mishloach Manot through yourself and one through a Shaliach. Even though b'diavad for sure, there's no problem because the Kav HaChaim already comes and he says that many times in the Torah, we do find that it's mentioned this concept of Shlichut, even though it's not done through Shlichut. For example, he brings V'chi teshalochenu chofshi mimach. You're talking about an Eved Ivri. And now we're talking about that you're sending him free. And there it's also brought down the entire concept of teshalechenu. But you're not sending him free through a shaliach. You are the one that you're freeing your own slave. So not because of that, it means that it has to be done through a messenger. However though, right, even within, that's also the psak of the Chazon Ovadia. However though, again, it is very nice if you're able to fulfill all the opinions and you're able to do two Mishloach Manots. One will be through done, that you yourself, you're actually giving it, right, through yourself, and another one you're doing it through a shaliach. Another one, which is an important one, is the Ben Ish Chai. If you remember, we mentioned in the previous years that the Ben Ish Chai says that they should not be in the same basket or in the same utensil, because then maybe it's only considered one entity. So therefore, again, even though it could be that there's no problem with the avad if you're sending one basket, if you can, it's always nice that you would come and you would separate, that you're giving whether it's a bottle of wine in one hand and the other basket or the food in the other hand, and you're doing it that it's separate, that it's not in one utensil, that it's not going to be in one entity. Now, some of the nafkamino that we're talking about is that what happens if I send it with a goy or with a katan, which means I'm going to send my child to come and start delivering mishloach manot. So even if it is that somebody's driving them, but who's the one that's actually giving it to them? Your child. So you have an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, even a 12-year-old, that they're not bar bat mitzvah, and they come and they're sending it. Or you send your chauffeur, you've got a goy that's coming, and he's doing mishlochim, he's doing the different messengers, he's coming and he's doing deliveries, so he's sending it out. So here also it's brought down in the halacha that again you're going to be to the chovah, but you just have to be certain that that arrived at its destination, which means that as long as you know for a fact that it arrived at the person's house and they accepted it, so then it's going to be okay and you will be yotzeh yedeh chovah. Now when we're talking about different types of food, there is a minhag ha'olam to come and to start sending minei metika, which means sweets and things like that. And even though you cannot, let's say for example, you cannot eat it because the person is diabetic or they have other problems that they cannot have, or for example you send somebody milky and they're lactose tolerant, which means that they cannot have any of the milk. So he comes and he says, since it's still fitting for other people in his house, it's going to be that you're going to be yotzeh yedeh chovah. Now it's also, when we're talking about the different foods, it can be a food or it could be a drink, but it cannot be anything else than that, which means that even if you're going to come and send money, and the value of the money is much more worth, right? It's much more valuable than what you would have sent in a Mishloach Manot. And at the end of the day, since you're not sending food, you're not going to be tzedek chovah. Even if you're going to come and you're going to send cigarettes or tobacco or anything like that, the same thing. He comes and he says, even if a woman is going to send to her friend clothing, so therefore again, a clothing is going to be much more expensive than what would have been a Mishloach Manot. Again, the same thing. You're not going to be tzedek chovah the mitzvah Mishloach Manot. But the Mishloach Manot specifically has to be food or drink, that you're able to come and to eat the seudah. Right now, another one is that what happens if you have a group of people that they come and they do as a group effort, they send a Mishloach Manot. So here it says, for example, they come together and they're going to send a Mishloach Manot. Let's say you've got students in the school. They all come together, they put money together, and they come and they're going to send the Rebbe, right, the rabbi of the class, they're going to come and they're going to send him Mishloach Manot. So even though they're not putting that much, they're still going to come and be Yotzei Chovah, the Mishloach Manot. The last halakha that we'll mention is, if you remember, is that yesterday we mentioned what happens if you have two people that they don't have money. So what do? They switch. How do you switch? One person will give Mishloach Manot to one, and the other one will give to the other, which is like the Seudah going back and forth. Right? Very important that nowadays it's already the minhag that even though you're not obligated to do so, the minhag, in order not to embarrass people, was that you always do so. What does that mean? If I come and I give you Mishloach Manot, I don't have to give you anything back. Why? There's no halakha that I have to give you something back. You gave me Mishloach Manot, I tell you Chazak u'Baruch, thank you very, very much, and that's it. However, though, the minhag became that I do give you something back. Why? Because just like by the ani, right? For sure, they're switching between themselves. Now it's embarrassing. What? Only the ani is going to come, he's going to give you, you're going to give him. So therefore the minhag came that everyone comes and you give and they give you back. That what became the minhag, in order not to embarrass somebody that does not have any money. So that's also going to be very, very important. And the last one that we mentioned is that it's very fitting for the Mishloach Manot to give yikarot, something which is very expensive. Lefi erech hanoten, according to what you're able to give. And if the person is very rich, also the lefi erech hamekabel, according to the one receiving. Which means that if you're a very wealthy, affluent person, you shouldn't come and start giving a $3 Mishloach Manot. Right? You should give something much more valuable. Now, if you're going to give it to a rich person, don't come and start giving him also the same thing. That means even though you cannot afford such an extent, but also you should try to give them the lefi erech hamekabel. So therefore, a person should make sure, or at least that in one of the Mishloach Manot, that he's doing so. I always remember that somebody went, and what he used to do is he used to give one seudah to one person, and everybody else used to come and used to give the candies and everything else that they come and they start putting in the Mishloach Manot. So at least for sure, they're going to be the chuvah with the Mishloach Manot, and that one of them should be, according to the halakha, according to all opinions, that it should be according to the value of the one that's giving, and the value of the one that is receiving.